welcome to Realms of Fae. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the North Node and the South Node in the birth chart. So for those of you that are not au fait with working with astrology, I suggest that you perhaps invest in doing some research or some, learning about it, because it is a wonderfully vast language of understanding, and it really helps you to get an understanding of you, how you work, your mindset, your emotions, your spiritual kind of energy, your physical body. There's so much rich wisdom in astrological work. It's not just about your zodiac sign. It really is so much more in depth than that. You can have a real understanding, even when you're looking in depth in health astrology, of what vitamins and minerals that you might be deficient in, or what illnesses you may potentially be more prone to experiencing, where your strengths and weaknesses are within your physicality and your mental health and your emotional health and your spiritual life. And the North Nodes specifically are more about where your kind of your goals and your purpose is and your destiny is for this particular incarnation that you're in. It's kind of like, I see the birth chart almost like a blueprint of your human design, of who you are as a spirit, and that is in a physical body, in a meat suit, for this particular incarnation, what your kind of script is, if you like, for this particular incarnation of your life. They can be so informative. And obviously I've written some notes down, like I said to you before, because I can't always remember everything, and my mind jumps about 100 miles an hour with my ADHD. So sometimes trying to get all of the information and say it all how I want to say it, I need to have a bit of notes written down so that I can go over it. So at the moment, on the 13th of this month, we had our North Node move, our collective North Node. So let me just go back with that a minute. On your birth chart, you'll have a natal chart, okay, which is where all the planets are when you were born, okay? And then you'll have your natal North and South Node. So that is exactly, where that particular, the nodes of the moon were when you were born, okay? And then you have in your birth chart another element of planets that move around the outside of your birth chart, which indicate where the planets are actually transiting now in the sky, whereas in your natal chart it would have been almost like a screenshot of where they were the day you were born, okay? And obviously they're continuously moving and evolving and changing, just like we are. And so the cosmos and the planets will be moving around constantly, and they will be aspecting and hitting on different parts of your chart in its screenshot, if you like, where it was originally. So collectively, and this is what I'm going to be talking a little bit about today, collectively the transiting nodes have moved out of the sign of Aries, where they have been for the last 18 months, where we've seen some of our eclipses and kind of focal points, and they've now moved into Pisces. So the North Node is now residing in Pisces. And again, how you interpret this in your birth chart is if you go onto a platform like astro.com, astro.com, or Pam Gregory Astrology. She does her own interpretations and birth charts, and she's a fantastic astrologer to watch. Again, I'm only an intuitive astrologer. I'm not a master astrologer at all. So I have wisdom on astrology, but I am not an expert. This lady is amazing, and so is another man called Steve Judd. I absolutely adore him. He's so intelligent and clever, and his mind, when you get these people where you think, this is the person I'd love to invite to around my dinner table. Him and Pam Gregory around the dinner table would be like, I'd be in my element, because astrology is really my passion. But I don't profess to know everything about it, because I'm still learning. It's such a vast subject, and it can just keep your mind pinned and poised for knowledge for eternity. And I feel like that is exactly what's happening with me at the moment. I've kind of come back into this, but again, I digress. So like I was saying, the North Node and the South Node would have been somewhere screenshotted in your birth chart on the day you were born. And at the moment, the nodes are moving and transiting. And they do so about every sort of 18 months or so. Again, I don't know the exacts, but look at these other people that I mentioned for all the really exact stuff. So basically, now they've moved into Pisces. We're going to have, eclipses, and we're going to have lunar and solar eclipses over the next 18 months with these nodes in these particular zodiac signs. So with each zodiac sign there comes an energy with it, and obviously Pisces energy is very spiritual, isn't it? It's, I'm a Pisces, so it's very spiritual, esoteric. It's ruled by Neptune and Jupiter, so it's the planet of expansion, a fantasy world. But sometimes with Neptune, it can be a little bit, foggy or illusionary. You can get lost in your thoughts. Sometimes all star signs and zodiac signs have their kind of polarity energy, so that they have their positive and their negative attributes. So the positive signs of Pisces is extremely spiritual, self-sacrificing and giving, and emotive, and very esoteric, very expansive in its mind, and working with the unconscious, and it's related to the 12th house in astrology deck. So it's not in the deck, sorry, in the astrology wheel. It governs the 12th house, which rules all things to do with hospitals and emotions, mental health, unconscious processes, dream state, all of these wonderful things. But Pisces also rules, and at this particular axis, Pisces Virgo also rules the health axis. So it's very related to the waters of the body. So Pisces is very related to the waters of the body, toxicity, our blood, our immune systems, our urinary tract system, our lymphatic system, our blood, anemia, all of these kind of things. And Neptune, which rules Pisces, is very connected to pharmaceutical industries. It's very connected to all of those kind of things. I'm sure you can get where I'm going with this. So I feel like, obviously, the North Node is the direction of travel. It's like the compass point. It's the arrow that is showing us, right, at this moment in time now, collectively, we're going to be focusing on this. The South Node is what we've already gleaned and the wisdom that we've already kind of got. And again, in your natal chart, that would be what you're coming into the world with, the gifts that maybe you've inherited karmically from other lifetimes. And then, looking at where the North Node is showing you where you're heading and where you're going and what you're bringing from the past with you in that direction. So for example, to give you a little example, for me, my North Node and South Node in my natal chart, South Node is in Taurus, North Node is in Scorpio. So that's basically showing me that perhaps I'm bringing a lot of, because Taurus rules the earth, it rules all things connected to, the throat chakra, and which is really interesting, is it communication, which is, what I've spent a lifetime learning and doing. And Taurians are very connected to Mother Earth, and, there's a real shamanic element with that. They like nice things. They're very stable and grounded and solid. And so you're bringing in, sometimes they can be good at singing and music and all of those kind of things. There's a lot more to it, but I'm just giving you a quick rough basis because I could go on for hours with all of this information. So I'm trying to condense it down. So basically, as you can see, from my perspective, I'm bringing into this lifetime all of this stuff that I've learned from my past lives, Taurian experience of my most recent life, and then I'm moving it into the Scorpionic energy of my North Node in my 9th house, which is the house of spirituality. The house of spirituality, the house of expansion and travel and higher wisdom, and that energy is then ruled by the Scorpio that it's in, because it's the 9th house in Scorpio, and Scorpio rules the transformative Phoenix energy, doesn't it? It rules Pluto. It's Pluto and Mars energy. It's the tower moments. It's the spirituality. It's the metaphysical learning and the healing, and it's the transformation, the caterpillar butterfly chrysalis perspective. So you can see from my perspective, just working with those energies there, that I'm coming from that perspective in my South Node and moving into my North Node energy. So I feel like I'm actually in the direction of travel that I'm supposed to be going in right now for this moment in time. So collectively, what's happening right now is that those nodes have moved from where they were, which was in Aries and Libra, and they're now moving into the Pisces Virgo axis, which is the health axis. And the Virgo axis, which is where we've been, which is all the practicality and all the nitty-gritty details, the microbiome, focusing on, that kind of aspect, all the small details, the practicality, getting the job done, all of those kind of things. We're using that energy now. All the wisdom and knowledge that we've gleaned over this last 18 months is now coming with us on this journey into Pisces. So we're getting all the wisdom that we've had and all the experiences that we've gone through over the last 18 months, and we're now bringing that into the Pisces North Node. So again, everything that's gone on in the past to do with, practicality, potentially some toxins and medicine, because again, Virgo rules medicine. It rules, some part of pharmaceuticals as well, and we're kind of going into that energy of moving that now into the Pisces energy of, you know, what can we learn from what we've experienced. So there's so much to say, and I don't want to confuse you with it, but basically what I'm really wanting to show you is that we're now moving into a completely different mind space and energetic space for the next 18 months, and depending on where those nodes hit your birth chart. So for me, they hit my first house, so it could be that I may be going to experience some issues with my health, which I really don't want to, because I've already gone through enough with my health over the last few years. But it could also be, depending on where the other planets are aspecting, you know, a way of me being able to heal what's been going on with myself over these last few years and detoxing my body, and, you know, coming into that space of, you know, perhaps focusing more on my microbiome, and, you know, and getting that kind of healthy, well-oiled machine with regard to my health, and also expanding my spirituality, you know, using the Virgo energy and the practical aspect of it all and bringing it into the now, you know, into my first house of self, and, you know, my body, myself, how I'm seen in the outside world. So, you know, I'm just giving you a little bit of a rundown on that. So for us collectively, I think what we'll start to see now is a real move from where we've been into a much more spiritual element, and also a dissolution, because Pisces is ruled by water, so there'll be a dissolving of the practical way of being that we've come to know and rely upon, you know. And, you know, Virgos can tend to sometimes, you know, be a little bit, you know, isolating and detached, and Pisces is not like that really. It kind of is in some ways, in that it retreats, its energy retreats into its, you know, imagination, but it's also very, you know, they're both actually very service related planets and astrological energies. But I think where we're going with this now with the Pisces is, you know, we've also got Saturn there as well at the moment, right next to quite close to our North Node. So we're looking at restructuring how we see things. And again, Pisces is quite connected to religion as well. So I think we're going to see a restructuring of religious aspects. I'm not specifically saying a one world religion, but I think a lot of religious perspectives will be dissolving, you know, in the coming days and weeks and months. Over the next 18 months, I think we'll see disillusions in a lot of those structures that we've come to rely upon, and religion will become more of a, you know, a connection to the divine and of how you see it. You know, it won't be a dogma per se of, you know, this is what you should do or you're going to burn in hell kind of scenario, or this is going to be what it is, or, you know, all different religions have their, you know, have their basis, and a lot of them are steeped in fear mongering. In my perspective, I don't really follow a dogma or a creed. I kind of just connect to my higher power, and, you know, and connect to what I believe is a power greater than myself, you know. So it's coming away from ego and dissolving into that, you know, that unattached perspective that we own nothing, and, you know, everything's borrowed, and all we are really connected to is the divine source and the, you know, the subconscious and our own spirituality, a divine spark. So just looking at my notes just so I can remind myself what I wanted to talk to you about. So you know, we're needing to kind of lose a sense, we might even lose a sense of groundedness actually, because Neptune can sometimes be a bit foggy and confusing, and that rules Pisces. So we might be coming through a little bit this next 18 months of feeling again, which we have been feeling, haven't we, anyway, because Neptune has been at the 29 degree position for quite a while now, which is the anoretic degree, which shows its crisis point. So we've kind of been in that perspective of Neptune doing not such a great thing, in that, you know, obviously all the floods and the washing away of things, but also the fogginess, because Neptune is like a fog as well, and a mist and a deception and a disillusionment. And there's this element of us not really knowing and what to believe anymore, isn't there? With all of what's going on at the moment on the you know, on the world stage. And, you know, again, Neptune and Pisces, they very much rule the artistic endeavours and, you know, acting and, you know, some degree of, you know, what we see on the TV and that kind of stuff. So again, there's that disillusionment of things here. So I think we'll not only see a dissolving over this next 18 months of what I just spoke about a minute ago, which is, religious platforms. I think we're going to see a dissolving, especially when Saturn and Neptune both move into Aries very shortly. I think we're going to see a real dissolving of our structures in general, in regard to our boundaries, our borders, and what's happening with those. And we're already starting to see a little bit of that going on at the moment. I think we'll also start seeing a dissolution of the structures of some of our education systems and our social media platforms. Although I've just obviously come on here on YouTube, I'm very aware of the fact that this could all just crash and go. With these transits and all of the energy that's happening at the moment, it's very possible that the platforms that we've all built and love and have come to rely upon for our work and things like this could all just dissolve and in that Neptune energy. And in that Piscean energy. But again, I believe because we're coming from the Virgo South Node, and I believe that will be reseeded and regrown. So although we might see dissolution of things, we also see a regeneration of things, and I think that's really what this axis is really about. Mercury is what rules Virgo, and that's very connected to the earth, and then you've got Neptune and water, so it's a very much almost like a cleansing of the earth that's happening right now. And I think we can all see that, can't we, in just in what's going on in the outside world at the moment. There's this cleansing going on with the world, with fire and flood, and without even looking into the connection to why these things are happening. And obviously we've all got our own perspectives on that. Whatever is happening, whether it be Gaia cleansing her space, or whether it just be that it's happening from individuals that are trying to do that. That is the energy that is being broadcasted at the moment for us to digest and process. And we're kind of needing to move into a space of non-attachment, and that's what Pisces energy is trying to teach us here. So again, the Pisces Virgo axis, I kind of liken it to, and a lot of the time when these axes of the North and South Node are occurring, which they do every 18 months or so, we get the kind of oyster and the two shells, which are the two opposites, that axis, the Pisces, the Virgo, and then the abrasiveness of that, the abrasiveness of those two opposing energies, not the oyster, they create the pearl in that oyster, the pearl of wisdom. So having those opposing energies that are collectively moving around our chart at different times of the year and generations and, for our lifetime, we're constantly having that abrasiveness occur that helps us to create these pearls of wisdom that we use, and we bring them forward into wherever our North Node is going, and at the moment that's in the Pisces energy. So yeah, I just think that's a wonderful analogy to look at it when we're looking at the axis and the where we're moving forward to and what we're going to glean from it. We're going to get pearls of wisdom from it, whichever way you look at it, and it's for a higher purpose and for our destiny. And again, Pisces is about completion, because it's the 12th house. So this is about completion phases. So at this particular time in our life, we're going to be going into a completion phase where we're kind of finishing off everything we're doing over this last 18 months until we move into a new start, which is, signaled by Neptune and Saturn moving into the 0 degrees of Aries. And that is going to be like almost like a beginning, a new cycle. The age of Aquarius is what I see that being, as the official entering in to the age of Aquarius. So you can see here we're moving from that practicality, that practical aspect of what we've loved and known, and we're now, finishing up and, tying up all the loose ends, if you like. And this is where the real kind of restructuring happens. It's like when you're moving house, isn't it? And everything's in boxes, and then you're packing everything up in boxes, and you're getting ready to go on that journey. And we're kind of in that space now collectively as a whole, where we're putting everything together, clearing everything away, and this is where we're seeing that kind of cleansing process of the floods and the fires as well. The Phoenix energy, where we've got that Phoenix energy going on as well, where everything's being perhaps burnt down to the ground so that new seeds can grow. And obviously it's not pleasant, is it? It's not a nice experience, and it's, you know, it's traumatizing on many levels going through these things. And I think that for 2025, and especially for these next few, you know, few months that we're going through this nodal shift, we're gonna, you know, and especially because it is in the sign of Pisces, which is, you know, the end, the completion, we're going to be experiencing, you know, endings in lots of different areas of our lives, and completion phases in lots of different areas of our lives. It doesn't all have to be doom and gloom, does it? Because, you know, completion's quite a satisfying feeling, isn't it? It's, you know, I think we have to kind of maybe ignore a little bit of what's going on in the background and focus our compass point and our direction and our intent and our energetic intent on where we're actually wanting to go collectively and individually. And that's from a heart-centered place, and that's from a place of, you know, renewal and utopia. And if you're looking at the energy of Pisces, it's moving into that space of, you know, what your wildest dreams and imaginations could create. So it's actually a really amazing time for us right now, you know. And some of us are coming into this stage of pass, if you like, with a lot of baggage that we're trying to unravel, you know, myself included. There's so many, everything's very uncertain, even in just in my own life at the moment. You know, I've got so much uncertainty going on around me, you know. There's just so much change, and nobody really knows where they're going to be. And it's really actually quite destabilizing, isn't it? And again, that's another Piscean energy, isn't it? That destabilization, the two fishes swimming in different direction and not really knowing where you're going with things, you know. And that's exactly where we are with things at the moment. So we've just got to kind of just stay really grounded and try and find our way forward, following our heart, following what we know and feel is right. And that's the only way, really. It's like we're doggy paddling and kind of keeping afloat, isn't it, at the moment? That's kind of where we're at. But there's so much to come, and this is just the end part of it, you know. And, you know, if you look at a plug, when the water's going down the plug, you know, right at the end, it makes a horrible noise, doesn't it? It spins faster and faster and faster and faster before it comes out the other end. And so we're in that vortex at the moment of energy where it's like all the noise is going on and it's really getting loud, and whoa, you know, there's so much going on, and are we going to get sucked down the plug with it, you know? But again, if we resist, you know, you get that suction pull, don't you? If you put your hand on it, you try and stop it, it kind of tries to pull you in, doesn't it? And so that's where I'm coming from with this, is that we really do have to just sit from an observation space and just allow what's being sucked back down through the plug hole of Earth out of our lives to just dismantle and get gone. And then we need to focus on our intention and putting our energy into what we really, really want to create and achieve individually and collectively. And that comes from a place of love, it comes from a place of sovereignty, and it comes from a place of freedom. You know, it comes from a place of the desire to live in peace and harmony and tranquility and love. And this isn't about me trying to be all, you know, kumbaya and all spiritually bypassing things or anything of those descriptions. It's the reality of what's going on right now. You know, you can see it all around you. Everything's just crumbling to shit, isn't it? Let's be honest. Everything is. And all the structures that we've known and loved, or we haven't really loved, have we? But we've known and, you know, come to feel comfortable with, they're all also changing now. And that will happen not just collectively with governments and structures and school education and pharmaceutical industries and social media platforms and all of those structures that we rely on heavily and that we've allowed to parent us to some degree. We're now being reborn, if you like. And again, that's the 12th house of Pisces, isn't it? It's that element of, you know, if you're in the womb, you're coming to the point of going down the vortex and into a whole new world. We're being reborn. And, you know, labour isn't you know, easy, and it's bloody painful, isn't it? Labour is painful, and we're now in that crowning phase where we're literally, you know, about to be reborn. And, you know, it comes with a lot of mess, and it comes with a lot of, you know, difficulty, risk and change, and that's not comfortable to experience. So all I'm trying to say is, you know, I want to give you this reassurance that a lot of what's going on in your life right now maybe it seems chaotic or disillusioned or unsettled or uncertain. We are moving through this space, and in the next 18 months you're going to be reborn as a new person. You know, as your life is going to be transformed in a way that you've never dreamed. And that's if you keep yourself grounded, if you don't get embroiled in being sucked down the plug hole with everything that's going on. You know, again, another analogy that comes to my mind here is like the tornadoes in the Wizard of Oz, you know, getting sucked into the fantasy of what's going on. We need to keep ourselves grounded and observe from a you know, as Pam Gregory would say, an eagle's perch, she says. You know, we need to be standing there, and that's what meditation's for. You know, because when we're meditating, we're keeping ourselves in that space, aren't we, of complete and utter surrender to there being a safety, a higher purpose, and we're allowing ourselves to completely relax into that divine energy where we just lift away from our physicality, the heaviness of our physicality, and we move into this wonderful space of, you know, imagination and being able to create whatever we want, and we can communicate with other, you know, intelligence separate to ourselves and also our higher self. You know, we all have this capacity to do this, and that's what Pisces is going to teach us, and that's what the Virgoan energies is showing us. All that we've learned, all of this stuff that we've been gathering, you know, like squirrels harvesting their nuts, you know, it's all going to come to a point where bang, we're now in that space of what we've created. You know, we're sitting in that space of what we've created for ourselves. So take this time to really, you know, stay grounded and centered and calm, most importantly, because we can only co-create from a place of calm and neutrality and peace and harmony and love. And try and, you know, even with the chaos that's going around you, just every now and again, you know, sit yourself down and say, I'm not the chaos, I'm not my body, I am not what's going on, there's more than this. And I want to recreate that for myself and for those that I love and for the collective. I think if we stay in that mindset constantly, bringing our attention back to what we're wanting our intention to create, we are more than capable of manifesting something absolutely fantastic, of birthing into utopia almost. And that's what, you know, and again, we have got the other element to it that, you know, things could go completely nightmare. But I think if we focus on what we want to create, that is a better use of our energy and our power, rather than focusing on the fear of what could happen, you know. So I hope this has been informative. I hope that I haven't confused you too much, because I do have a tangent of going off on all different directions. Please excuse any background noise that you might experience in these videos, because I have a very busy house. I have grandchildren living here, 3 dogs, and a busy household. So I try my best to record things when I can have a little more peaceful time, but sometimes it's just not possible. And if I don't ever do it, you'll never get any of this information. So I'm just literally chucking it out there as and when I can do it. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this gives you, for the month of January specifically, where these nodes are have now moved on the 13th, an insight into what's to come over the next 18 months, and specifically when we have these eclipses that occur. That will be really, really interesting. I think one's on the 17th of September, it might be. One's in September, that's going to be in Virgo, and then the other one is in Pisces, which is coming up quite soon. So yeah, there's going to be lots going on, and I can put those in the footnotes if you want to see the actual dates, because again, I can't remember off the top of my head, my brain goes dead. But hope this has been interesting for you. It's been absolutely my pleasure and honour to share this with you. I hope it's been informative. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part of my community.